Hello, good morning. I haven't done a video in a long time. This is Terry Allen. But this Israeli-Iran conflict, they call it conflict, this war, this is crazy. This has to end. This World War III situation that we're on, right on the borderline of, is so dangerous. Here's the situation. Why do the Zionists want to get rid of Iran? It's because Iran is really the last state in the Middle East that can stand up to their genocide and war crimes. And without Iran, then Zionists will do anything they want. And the Arabs know about this policy called the Greater Israel Policy, okay, which is their ultimate goal, is to expand the borders of Israel, to take over Jordan, part of Iraq. They're talking about from the Red Sea to the Euphrates, so part of Egypt, part of Saudi Arabia, part of Iraq. They want Syria and Lebanon. That is their final goal. That is what the Zionists want. And this is Israel's not a Jewish state. It's a Zionist state. Okay? It is a insane, whatever you want to talk about, anti-Semite bullshit, screw that. That's just a tool to keep anybody from criticizing Israel to make any traction. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Oh my God, that really works good with American people and others. Because American people are very easily hoodwinked. And I'm very disappointed in Trump, because he should know the history of the Zionists and what they've done in Palestine. He should know that the Israelis were committing genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza, and there is no mistake to that. The whole world knows it. And Israel and Britain and the United States are the only ones that, no, they had to do it because of Hamas. I mean, if you look at the history of everything that's been going on since World War I, there's some excellent documentaries, and I'm going to put links to them in the description below, that will explain to you what happened in World War I, what happened with Palestine. The British promised that land to the Arabs and to the Jews, to the Zionists. And so the Arabs hated the Zionists when they moved in 47, because they took double the land they were supposed to take. They created 700,000 refugees and they put them in a tent camp. What do they expect? Oh, the whole world hates us. Well, I guess that's why. Because we're tired of your bullshit. Attacking everybody all around you. Arrogance. You think you're the chosen people? Fuck that. You lost your chosen people status when Jesus came. And I'm not a religious person, but that's biblical. You're not the chosen people anymore, because you sinned against God, and Jesus came back and you rejected him, and so there you go. Besides, Jacob had 12 sons. There's 12 tribes of Israel. Only Judea and Benjamin were considered Jewish. The rest, you had the Levites, you had all these other families, all these other tribes. So, if after Titus, Vespasian's son, a Roman emperor, destroyed the temple in 70 AD, the Jewish population and the Israelites pretty much left that area. The Ottoman Turks ran it for a long time. World War I came in. The British ended up with it. They created these mandates. Then you had the Sykes-Picot Act, which just carved up the Middle East for the benefit of the colonialists and not the benefit of the families and the tribes in the Middle East. So anyway, that's just a very brief history of it. But that's why Israel is doing this. And they know that the United States will come in, because the United States always has their back. So they lunge forward into this insane attack against Iran. And I can't stand the Khomeini and the rulers in Iran. They're horrible people. I've seen what they've done. The Sharia law is an abomination, particularly for women. But you can thank Brzezinski, and you can thank Jimmy Carter for the conflict that we have in Iran now. You can thank them because they had a policy in the late 70s called the Arc of Crises, okay, which was they funded and armed these crazy wacko Muslim fundamentalists and Islamic fundamentalists to go after the little nations and the territories of Russia. It's called the soft underbelly of Russia. And they sent these wackos into those areas to try and overthrow the governments over there and to destroy and dismantle the Soviet Union. That's what that was for. But what you did is you ended up creating Al-Qaeda with the Afghanistan situation, the Mujahideen. Okay? And then in 1953, the British and the American CIA came in and overthrew the president in 1953. He was duly elected democratically in Iran, and his main platform was he wanted to nationalize the oil industry, which means that they wanted some of those profits that the British were just looting them, basically sucking them dry. They wanted some of those profits to help build the country up. The whole population in Iran was for it. But Britain and the Americans didn't like that because they wanted that oil. So they ended up putting the Shah of Iran back in, the king. So isn't that ironic? The Americans fought against royal families since our inception. And now we're helping put a king back in power because that king was pro-West and he was okay with the British, the Persian, Anglo-Persian oil company. They were okay with that. So then when the Shah had cancer and got booted out, he didn't get booted out. He got picked up by the Americans, sent to New York for chemo and to try and, give him some hospitalization. That's where you ended up with the embassy hostages, because the students in Iran wanted the Shah back so they could put him on trial for criminal operations. Americans wouldn't give him back. So there you go. Then you end up with this psycho Khomeini in power. If we just leave our hands off of these nations and let them develop on their own, we would not be in this situation that we are in. But because Americans don't know history, they don't know why any of this stuff has happened. Oh, this terrible Islamic fundamentalist crazies. You can thank the United States government and the CIA for their existence. And then you got Libya, you got Syria. The United States allowed Al-Qaeda to go into Libya and overthrow that government. We helped finance that. Talk to Tulsi Gabbard. She knows all about this. So finally, I just want to say that I think Iran should have a nuclear weapon. I think that's a national right that every nation should be able to have their own defense. And nuclear weapons are a defensive weapon, not an offensive weapon. And you can be guaranteed that if Iran had a nuclear weapon, this would not be happening. Israel would not be attacking them. And that's the whole point. That's why North Korea will never give up their nuclear weapons, because they don't want the Libya treatment. Okay, Pakistan, India, there's a lot of nations that have nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons, although they will never admit it. And we can't get inspectors in there to see what's going on, because that's the Zionist way and they control the government. So there you go. Anyway, Israel's getting their ass kicked. These hypersonic missiles coming in from Iran are defeating their Iron Dome. coming right in because the missiles can't stop them. So they're taking a beating, and I'm against war. I hate it, but now they get to see what it's like, what they've done to Gaza and Lebanon and Syria, their bombing campaigns. Now they can see what it's like, and it's horrific. See, it sucks. It's horrible. People are dying all over the place. Same thing with Ukraine and Russia. There's another historic situation with that, because the neocons were the ones that helped overthrow the government in 2014 to help put Zelensky in power because they wanted Ukraine in NATO. That's a red line that Russia would never allow. Well, once that happened, that's when they came in and took Crimea, because that's where all of their ships are. They had a 25-year lease on Crimea because that's where their port is for their military. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff you need to know about this. But anyway, I'm very disappointed in Trump because I think he had something to do with the, I'm sure he knew what was going to happen, and he's caught up in this whole crazy, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Well, I think if Iran had a nuclear weapon, Israel would behave themselves a little better, and that's what we need, because they're wreaking havoc. They're going to drag us into World War III, okay, and we need to stop it. So we need to call our congressmen and senators and just raise hell about this. So anyway, I gotta go. Take care. Like, subscribe. This is Terry Allen, and I'll see you next time. Bye.